coming back on the defense. They have a very young secondary that has played better as we've gotten down the stretch. So typically what we like to say as NFL players, once you get close to Christmas, we tell the rookies, you're not a rookie anymore. You know, you didn't play in 12 to 14 games. Even if you missed a few, you played in 8 games. You didn't play the college schedule. We need you to graduate over to year number 2. So when you start seeing these younger players like Dallas that have played a lot of reps, at this point in the season, they are better football players. So I see that happening with the Cowboys. And Dallas ran the ball when Zeke was out. So Jerry said he believes Dak's a better quarterback. I know he's a better quarterback with Zeke back there, so they run the ball. They eat up the clock. We know their defense is better. They get David Irving back on that defensive line, getting healthy at the right time. The Cowboys are the team people don't want to face.
And you mentioned Russ is not going to be an issue, especially at the running back position with Zeke coming
Running back won't be an issue because it's the most transferable of all the skills. It's the skill that you can have a workout and take that into some type of sport and transfer over without game time action. The reason why is because their vision, their overall ability to run with the football, see the open holes. It happens when a kid is 8 years old, from the time they touch the ball, going into little league, into high school, and into college and into the pros.
And it's why it's the spot that you can have the biggest impact as a rookie.
Yes.
We have Alvin Kamara coming on in 45 minutes.
At all different levels, too. You don't have to be a first-round pick.
Right. Any level, you don't. And the other part of it is, I want to make this very clear. Like Alvin, we've sat and talked with him. He seems like a very smart guy. You don't have to have the whole game plan down to be a great running back.
No.
You don't have to be a studied veteran to be a great running back. So like this, because so much of it is instinctual. So it is the spot, as Cece was mentioning, that Zeke, with 6 weeks in Cabo or wherever he was training,
right, because he
should
didn't
be
come
okay.
off an injury. He's not nursing anything. He's at full strength.
Well, and that's so I agree with Chris. I think it is the Cowboys. And here's the thing. Everyone's focused with the Cowboys like, oh, what do they need? They needed the Falcons to go 0-2. Well, what they need is one of the NFC South teams to go 0-2. Because while they don't have the tiebreaker with Atlanta, they can end up with the tiebreaker with Carolina or New Orleans.
Wow, okay.
So, and 2 of them play each other this weekend, in Atlanta and New Orleans. If Dallas wins this weekend, they will be alive for the playoffs going into Week 17, barring a tie between Atlanta and New Orleans. So Dallas will be alive. They're going to need a lot of things to go their way. They need Detroit to lose a game. For Dallas to make the playoffs, they have to go undefeated. Detroit's got to lose a game, and they need a NFC South team to go 0-2. So it's there because the NFC South is playing each other. Because one of those losses is guaranteed to happen this weekend. It's a long shot, but it's available to them. And if they get into the playoffs fully healthy, again, I want to, on the Zeke note, CC, when you're a star running back and you go into the playoffs with not a lot of work or not a lot of carries, it's almost always because you've been injured. The fact that Zeke's going in there for a worse reason as far as as a human being, that he was suspended, but a better football reason, plays in their favor. He's fresh and not coming off an injury. That works well for them if they can get in the tournament.
What's not in their favor is Minnesota has kept right on the heels of the Eagles, so the Eagles are likely to play a full game in week number 17, which is not typical of a number 1 seed. So they need that to stay ahead of the Vikings.
The only time I ever got full-on barked at in an NFL locker room was, I don't know if I should mention the name, but was when I was going over a whole list of things and scenarios that had to happen for the team to win. I said, well, you guys have to win out. But if this team loses and this team ties and this team's mother on her cousin's third side has a dog with 3 legs, you guys are in the playoffs. And I just got railroaded. And it was like, as a player, I can't imagine that this and the scenarios, all we want to focus on is the next game, and that's it. Is it hard for the Cowboys to, you think, kind of quiet out the rest of the noise and say, forget everything else. If we don't win the next game that's in front of us, this whole thing is for naught.
Yeah, Jenna, that's all you
see
can
what
do.
I'm saying?
I mean, that's all you can do is concentrate. That's all I got control over. You think I'm going to be in Cincinnati somewhere this weekend? All I can do is concentrate on this game, Jenna. That's all I can do. What do you want me to do?
I'd have yelled at you, too, if you brought up somebody with having a 3-legged dog, Jenna. Talking about playoffs.
Okay, that just brought me back.
The role playing?
That just brought me back.
PTSD.
I got a lot of PTSD right now, okay?
All right, okay, moving on.
That's ping
Right,
pong,
I
ping
got
pong,
you.
ping pong, ping pong.
No one knows
Table
what you're
tennis,
talking
table
about.
tennis.
Go ahead.
Blindside hit.
Carolina Panthers linebacker Thomas Davis, speaking of blindsided hits, he picked up a 2-game suspension for his hit on a defenseless Davante Adams in Sunday's game against the Packers. For context, he was fined earlier in the year for a helmet-to-helmet hit on Bucs receiver Adam Humphries. The league weighed that into their decision. Davis will likely appeal. Cece, what is your reaction to the suspension here?
I thought he would be suspended. I mean, he targeted a player who was defenseless. And in these interception return scenarios, the defensive players, that's actually a play that happened 20 years ago on a regular basis that they've banned from the game. Like, they've taken these hits away from the game. It's as if...
Schlereth talks about it all the time from when he was playing.
It's as if the modern-day player didn't see all the stats on players that played the game afterwards, because we typically think that we are a brotherhood. Now, if we are a brotherhood, there's no way you hit your brother in his ear like that with your helmet. You know your helmet is the hardest object on the football field. And anytime you hit someone with it deliberately, especially from the blind side, a veteran player, like, there's no excuse for it. He should be suspended. And given that he does have a track record of targeting, I'm not surprised that it was 2 games. Now, you talking about hurting someone, he could have really, one guy running in one direction, not looking, and you got a full speed and you jump off your feet and jump up and hit him in his face or in his ear, like, you can do a lot of damage to him. So this is not what I expect from Thomas Davis. I expected the league to come down hard on him. And I wouldn't be surprised this offseason if the league doesn't go to a targeting rule where the player will be thrown out just like college right when the infraction happened. So I can, with all these hits that we've seen of late, I wouldn't be surprised if that's approached at the next owners meeting, and wouldn't be surprised if it's implemented in the 2018 season.
All right, just in quickly response to that before I get to the question. If they do that, it can't be the way college is done. It's got to only be on truly egregious hits like that. It can't be the incidental trying to break up a pass. It can't be what George Iloka did. Like, for me, obviously I don't dictate what the league's going to do, but when we think of the Cincinnati play, when George Iloka's trying to break up a pass, that gets you ejected in college football. I wouldn't like to see that be an ejection in pro football. Now and you guys can see the George Iloka hit here. Like that, he was trying to make a football play. That, as opposed to what Thomas Davis did, which, as CC mentioned, was a dirty play. Now, will the 2-game suspension become a 1-game suspension? Well, unfortunately, the victim of this, Davante Adams, has really good, or has experience in this. Really good is the wrong word. Danny Trevathan got a 2-game suspension for an illegal hit on Davante Adams that got reduced to 1 game. So Thomas Davis could see this reduced. But you and I were talking about this before the games, or before the show, CC. And I said, listen, I think he clearly didn't mean to do that. Like, he seemed so upset immediately after. And you said something I thought was really interesting. You were like, oh, he felt bad about it, but it was intentional. And you said something about his football, like the football personality, or I'm misquoting it. I can't quite remember exactly but explain it to me. How, because do you believe that on the sideline he did feel badly?
The person that you have to turn into to play and survive in the NFL is different than the guy that goes to the game, and he's different than the guy who picks up his kids and goes home after the game. That's the way you survive in the league. And that person took over on interception, where I'm getting ready to retaliate on one of the offensive players. He knows he's a wide receiver, and he knows he can hurt him. That mentality took over Thomas Davis, and he applied that hit to him. How do I know this? Because I just know that the overall mentality and where you have to go, like, you have to go to a dark spot to survive playing in the NFL. And those are the type of reactions when you're in that dark spot. Those are the type of things that you do to people on the field.
But so, just so I totally understand, but then the regular human Thomas Davis took back over on the sideline when he was thinking about what he did, and he's almost in tears? I'm asking.
You tell me what happened.
Well, I don't.
I'm watching TV just like you.
No, but is that a thing that